Let's talk about 7 Up for a minute. 7 Up is a crazy one. I'll go ahead and talk about where 7 Up began, how it started, and then I'll talk about the bottles and the different variations, and there are many different variations for 7 Up. So let's go ahead and get started. Charles Leeper Grigg created 7 Up in 1929. And sometimes if you look up 7 Up online, it'll tell you something different. It'll tell you that 7 Up was originally called Bib Label Lithiated Lemon Lime Soda, which is a mouthful, and who would want to name their soda that long of a word? So it is actually false, and 7 Up was really created as 7 Up. But it did contain lithium in the ingredients. And then when World War II was over, lithium ended up getting banned for being in soda and other things. And so they stopped putting it in 7 Up. And an interesting thing about lithium today is that it's used to treat bipolar disorder. So in 1929 to about 1938, the 7 Up bottles had paper labels. And there was an amber bottle and there was a green bottle. And those bottles had paper labels, like I said, and as you can see on the picture, that is what the paper label looked like. They had a bubble girl on them that was the silhouette of a woman with her arms upstretched and the words slenderizing on them. Then come 1934, ACLs were invented. ACLs mean applied color label. And so we start seeing from 1934 on, all the soda bottlers start using ACLs rather than paper labels. And the earliest ACL on the front of a 7 Up bottle you can find in 1935. And this bottle said 7 Up, the alkaline reaction. The gas purifies. Then it had a bold underline beneath it all. And I don't have an example of that. But then, during that time, there was embossed neck labels. And as you can see on this bottle, the very first embossed neck label actually was different than this. It had a U and then a 7 and then a P. And then after that, they changed it to just 7 Up, as you see it here. And then come about 1937, you started to see that the neck labels were all ACLs. Then, in the year 1937, the bottles, they lose the word slenderizing for the bubble girl, and the bubble girl actually gains a swimsuit. And the shield on the bottle, on the ACL, was a reddish-orange color, and the rest of the writing was white. And as you can see here, the shield had 8 bubbles on it. So then, in the year 1938, it is believed that someone noticed the label had 8 bubbles and thought it should be changed to 7 bubbles. You know, this is 7 Up. Why do we have 8 bubbles? We should have 7. So as a result, the labels from 1938 on contained 7 bubbles. Now, that's when the change was made, but that doesn't mean any of the bottlers made the change. So there are a few years here in between that you might find bottles with 8 bubbles instead of the 7 that it should have been changed to. So then, sometime between 1942 and 1945, the reddish-orange pigment was removed from the bottles. You can see this one, for example. And the pigment was removed because it was wartime and the pigment was needed for war use. Then when the war was over, the red-orange shield returned to the bottles. And then in 1953, there was a complete removal of the swimsuit Bubble Girl. So like this one here, there's no more Bubble Girl. And the new label had extra lines around the shield and the words, "You like it, it likes you" below. You like it, it likes you. So if we take a look at these bottles, a couple of interesting things. I told you about the 8 bubbles. So this one has 8 bubbles on the front ACL, and it also has 8 bubbles on the neck label. But there are others, like this one, that has 8 bubbles on the front, but then on the neck label it only has 7. So there are some differences there. Another thing that I noticed also is if you look at the swimsuit girl, the Bubble Girl, maybe on this one you can see that there are 2 feet. Well, on this one, she only has 1 foot showing. So there's a lot of little different variations on these bottles, and that's what makes them fun to collect. And then if we look at these two bottles are green and they're fully embossed, and they were created in 1960s and 70s. So that sums it up for the front ACLs and the front of the bottles of the 7-Up. And if you stick around, I'll do a part 2 and talk about all the differences for the back ACLs on the 7-Up bottles.